getting the word out about what's actually happening. So I appreciate your recommendation that people organize and tell the truth, but I wonder if you have any specific recommendations on how to deal with the media beyond doing parody editions as we did, or writing letters to the editor, which there's very little effect. And I was wondering if you have an idea of, or a personal opinion on how the media works. Is it an elite consensus that keeps the news so homogenized, or what kind of strategies are at play there?
I don't believe that any longer the mainstream media pose a major obstacle to us knowing the truth. There was a time when it was very difficult to find things out if the major media effectively colluded to obscure or falsify the truth. But nowadays, it just doesn't seem that people are any longer so dependent on the Globe and Mail, the New York Times, and those other forms of, those other mainstream media. I follow these topics quite closely, and it's very striking to me. I probably get in any given day between 100 and 300 emails just of people sending me information. And it's very striking how little articles from the Times, the Globe and Mail, and so forth actually are circulated among people on the web. That's one of the reasons why, the Times is in serious financial help. And speaking as a resolute atheist, with God's help, hopefully it will go broke. I think that people have now managed to find ways to keep themselves reasonably well informed about what's going on. What the media is doing is shameful, that's for sure. It's wretched beyond words, that's for sure. But I don't think it any longer poses an insurmountable obstacle to knowing the truth. So I'm not so concerned about it anymore. Of course, you would like them to acknowledge what's happening, but if they want to go their merry way, let them, because they're becoming, I think, in many respects, largely irrelevant.
Not such a resolution be inherently unviable?
Okay, I take it that's a dissenting question, and I'm glad. I'm glad. We should hear it, we should discuss it, and we should test my ability, not just to advocate reasonableness, but also test my ability to be reasonable. So I'm going to try to give you a systematic and comprehensive response. And I'll acknowledge, to begin with, it takes courage for you to ask that question in what's obviously a hostile audience, and I acknowledge that. I mean, you're showing more courage here than the IDF showed in Gaza, but that's a separate question. Okay, so let me begin. Number one, not to split semantical hairs, but I didn't advocate anything. I want to be clear on that. What I did was tell you what the record of the international community is. I said every year the highest political body in the world, the UN General Assembly, the most representative political body in the world, votes for the two-state settlement, the resolution of the refugee question based on the right of return and compensation. Every year, the whole world on one side, Israel, the United States, some South Sea islands on the other side. The highest judicial body in the world, the International Court of Justice. It says Israel has no right to any of the West Bank and Jerusalem, West Bank and Gaza, It says Jerusalem is occupied Palestinian territory. It says the settlements are illegal under international law. On the question of the refugees, the most respected human rights organizations in the world, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. Now, bear in mind, as I make plain in my remarks, I don't personally have much regard for them. But if you were to ask a general audience, what are the most respected human rights organizations in the world? Most would say Amnesty and HRW, Human Rights Watch. Now, both organizations in 2000 and 2001 published official position papers on the right of return. And both of these organizations stated that there can be no question that the Palestinian refugees and successive generations who have maintained genuine links with the land have the right of return. That's their position. So it's not me that's saying it. It is what I take to be, and I think a fair-minded audience would also take to be, the most representative political organization, judicial body, and human rights organizations in the world today. Now, you say, or I gather from what you say, that if one of these rights were implemented, the right of return, it would compromise what Israel takes to be its right. But the international community doesn't agree on that. You can't both claim to adhere to the rule of law and then tell the Palestinians that they are somehow obliged to renounce a basic right of their own because you don't like it. You just don't have the right to do that. What you do have the right, in my opinion, to do, what you do have the right to do is to make Palestinians an offer for a settlement of the conflict such that they say, rather than exercise my right of return, I will choose your settlement offer instead. Obviously, a right means you don't have to exercise it if you choose not to exercise it. I often give the example, so you'll forgive me if you've heard me on YouTube, that I'm not comparing suffering. Believe me, I am sober enough to know magnitudes of suffering. I'm simply trying to demonstrate a principle. I was denied tenure at DePaul. The grounds, in the opinion of many, including my lawyer's opinion, the grounds are transparently false. The university itself acknowledged that I was an outstanding professor and a prestigious scholar. So how could you deny me tenure? My lawyer says, if you go to court, you'll win, you'll get back your right to return to DePaul. But she says to me, it's going to take a very long time. Tenure cases, if they're argued in court, they take 6 years. And she says, do you really want to devote the next 6 years of your life to reliving the nightmare at DePaul? And I said, well, not really, because I have bigger goals in life. I don't really care about academic freedom because I never believed it existed in the first place. So